It began as whispers in Brazil, rumors of padded contracts, unexplained wealth, and politicians too close to businessmen. But when investigators dug deeper, the truth shocked not just a country, but an entire continent. This is the story of Odebrecht, the construction empire that perfected the art of bribery, spreading influence from Brazil to Mexico, from Peru to Angola, shaking governments and exposing the dark marriage of money and power. Founded in the 1940s by Norberto Odebrecht, the company grew from building modest projects in Bahia to becoming Latin America's largest engineering conglomerate. Highways carved into mountains, gleaming airports, stadiums for World Cups, even energy dams that lit entire cities. On the surface, Odebrecht symbolized progress, but below, it was engineering something far more sinister. In 2006, Odebrecht formalized what most companies would never dare admit: a department devoted to corruption. They called it the Division of Structured Operations. Its real mission: Bribes. Executives created coded emails, offshore accounts, and elaborate laundering systems to funnel money to politicians and parties. Bribery wasn't occasional. It was industrial. The scandal erupted with Operation Car Wash, Brazil's sweeping investigation into Petrobras, the state oil giant. Investigators discovered Odebrecht at the center, paying politicians across the spectrum to secure contracts. The sums were staggering. Hundreds of millions flowed through shell companies, with fingerprints pointing to Brazil's political elite. Former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva faced accusations. Dilma Rousseff, SLAs, were implicated. Michel Temer, too, was dragged into the mud. In Brazil, no party escaped suspicion. But Brazil was only the beginning. In Peru, Odebrecht admitted paying $29 million in bribes. Alejandro Toledo allegedly pocketed $20 million, fleeing the country to avoid arrest. Alanta Humala was jailed. Pedro Pablo Kuczynski resigned amid allegations. Alan Garcia, once a towering figure in Peruvian politics, tragically took his own life as police arrived at his door. For Peruvians, the message was clear. Every president for 2 decades had been touched by Odebrecht's shadow. Colombia revealed senators and officials accused of manipulating infrastructure tenders. In Mexico, Pemex chief Emilio Lozoya was accused of channeling Odebrecht money into political campaigns, reaching the highest levels of power. Argentina's contracts linked bribes to the Kirchner administrations. Across the region, the pattern was the same. Public money siphoned, private pockets filled, democracy sold piece by piece. In the Dominican Republic, massive protests erupted after revelations that politicians had accepted millions. Ecuador's Vice President Jorge Glass was sentenced to prison. Even outside Latin America, countries in Africa where Odebrecht operated reported suspicious deals. The scandal's reach was global. Behind the billions were abandoned projects, unpaid workers, and citizens betrayed. Hospitals promised but never finished. Roads collapsing because funds vanished into bribes. Public trust eroded. Protests filling plazas from Lima to Brasilia. Odebrecht wasn't just a company. It had become a symbol of everything ordinary citizens despised: corruption, collusion, impunity. Marcelo Odebrecht, the company's CEO and heir, became the face of the scandal. Once Brazil's most powerful businessman, he was sentenced to 19 years in prison. Facing the collapse of his empire, he cooperated with investigators, naming names and detailing payments. His testimony toppled ministers and presidents alike. The company filed for bankruptcy, rebranded, and tried to distance itself from its past. But the damage was irreversible. Odebrecht's name was now shorthand for corruption. Billions in fines were paid. Billions more lost in contracts cancelled. Reputations shattered. The Odebrecht scandal wasn't just a corporate crime. It was a mirror reflecting how corruption had been normalized, institutionalized, accepted as the cost of doing business. It revealed the weakness of democracies where companies didn't lobby, where contracts weren't won. They were auctioned in secret. For Latin America, the Odebrecht scandal remains a wound still healing. Some leaders fell, others escaped justice, and citizens wonder if true accountability will ever arrive. One company exposed a continent-wide system of bribery, but the deeper question remains: When corruption is this embedded, can it ever be rooted out? And so, the legacy of Odebrecht endures. A name once tied to progress, now etched in history as the scandal that shook a continent.